putting a shopping cart, and I had a winter scene with that. And then I did a nativity scene too. So it was like the birth of Jesus. It's like they couldn't find a manger, so they found a meter. I got heady with this. So these pictures actually came out very, very good. Like after a while, the models got more intricate, and then I was literally going outside with a mini sledgehammer and a big like a screwdriver, and I was whacking into these meters in the middle of the night, just banging them open, trying to get them open. And then I was building these like little models up, and like to get them more, like I was using chopsticks and like glue and just like pushing them up in there because I can't get my hand in the hole. Sorry, ladies. And then just kind of putting them in there and placing them in there. So I would break into them at night, and in the daytime I would put the models up. So here I am on Queens Boulevard. I remember, I'll never forget. It was like a cold winter night in January of like, I don't know, I think it was geez, 2014. Wow, that's already a while ago. And I'm bashing into this meter, and it's like Queens Boulevard, and I hear my sledgehammer, my mini sledgehammer, just ringing through the streets, through like bam, bam. It's like, and it's like row after row of apartment building, and the echo is just like, you hear it just banging off. Like it's like, and somebody, and I'm sure people were like, who the sorry, I don't use expletives on this channel. Who the hell is banging into whatever at this time of morning when it's like 10 degrees outside or 10 below outside? It was really cold that winter. I'm doing this, and then all of a sudden there's this cop car like going the other way. So like I'm on one side of Queens Boulevard, and then there's a cop car going, and lights just start going, just blaring, and it just races up the block, and it does a big U-turn around Queens. They're coming after me. The cops are coming. And I'm just like, oh my god. So I just run. I just drop everything. Well, I didn't. Well, I kind of just put in my jacket. I'm like, "Ugh," and I run into the 63rd Drive subway station in Regal Park, and I'm like, oh my god. And so like yeah, so this was basically what I was doing, and then in the daytime, it would seem more innocuous to kind of just put stuff in the meters, and I needed the sunlight. I can't take the pictures in the dark. There was no real way to do that. So yeah, that's how and then I made, and I showed a couple of people. I was like, okay, I made some prints of those photos, nice, like good prints, metallic, like a metallic kind of finish on them, and I put them in like IKEA frames, and I had a friend of mine who had a restaurant in Long Island City, the Crescent Grill. They're no longer around. I'm sad about that, but yeah. Um, and I had them in a gallery show there, and oop, I'm gonna eat that mic. And they sold like hotcakes. People bought them like people were like, "Oh my God, these are great!" Like I sold so many of those prints. It was ridiculous. I could. I was like, it was like printing money. And then I sent some stuff to the New York Post, Newsday, and all the press people got on there. Like it was crazy. Like I got in all these newspapers, local papers, everything. It was like discovering like plutonium for like a couple of minutes. And they were like, well, what are you gonna do next? And I'm like, well, I guess I gotta get the parking meter. So then I kind of just started scouring and looking for like busted down meters that got hit by cars and got flattened, and I started just dragging parking meters home and stuff. It's like, what are you doing? Like it's like these things weigh like 100 pounds, like of iron and steel. And then I contacted the city. I'm like, you know what? Why don't you give me these meters? And they're like, no, we can't just give you like a few. You got to get like 1,000 because it's like we auction them off in bulk. I'm like, I just need a few for in our project. I'm taking them anyway. So I got into this whole thing back and forth, and the city kind of relented. They were like, okay, fine. We'll give you, if you can have a truck, we'll give you a handful of these things. So it's like I got like 20 of them. They're like matchsticks just laying in this big garage that the DOT was operating, that still operates in Middle Village, I believe, or Maspeth. near Rust Road, Rust Street, like right on the where all that industrial stuff is near Brooklyn. It's like that. It's almost I think it's almost Bushwick, or at least it's Ridgewood. It's a weird area, but it's all industrial. And yeah, so I started painting them, sanding them, painting them, cutting them open, using a drill at first, and then using a grinder, and cutting these up and like making them into these like freestanding pieces, like sculptures. Gave them bottoms. I was filling Christmas tree stands with cement and propping them up so they could actually stand. Because that was the biggest problem with like a lot of people didn't want the meters, is because they couldn't stand them up because they were just cut out of the ground and that's it. If they're not in the ground, they just fall over because they're top heavy and they're just totally unbalanced. So that was the way I had to figure out how to way to just stand them up, which I did. And then it was just like, and that was like, oh man, that's even cooler than the photos, man. So, and then like I was working with a friend of mine by the World Trade Center doing some like audio video stuff because I freelance in that capacity too. I mean, even though I didn't have a film career, I was able to do, I could shoot anything. Doesn't matter. Photography, video. I could do PowerPoint. I could do multicam, robots, camera stuff. I mean, I'm employable in that way. If you want your wedding or bar mitzvah shot, you can contact me. And he was working down here at the World Trade Center, and he was like, "Yeah, they have space here. They love artists here." And I'm like, "What? Like, why?" And I'm like, and because the buildings are under construction, they wanted to fill the space up, so they already had two artists here, like working, and they were working in Tower 4 of the Tower 3 wasn't even built yet. So they're like, yeah, it's like, oh, this project's really cool. Let's let's run it past some people. And they like, and at the same, so like while I'm struggling with this, because I was actually building out these parking meters in my friend's backyard in the wintertime. So like fast forward really a year later, we're getting into 2015 because I smashed the meters, made the photos, and then I got the meters. That took time from the city. Then I had to do that. I couldn't do them in my apartment, so I constructed them at my friend's backyard. So he had like a rundown pool shed, and I had the meters stacked in a pool shed, and I was just running cables out of his basement through the cellar door, and it was just freezing and working on them then. So I showed a couple of photographs of them. I made a World Trade Center site specific one with the towers, everything being built out with construction workers, the whole nine. They loved it. So they were like, you know what, man, here's the keys. Bring your stuff in and work on this project here, which is like, well, it's the perfect place because it's concrete floors, plenty of room. I could bash things all day, and then slowly and surely, and then those things sold, and then I was having gallery shows with those pieces, and they were really choice, nice pieces. So basically, that was the journey to here, in a way. And and then somehow I just became. So here's film that I studied, that I put all my heart and soul into, and then here's something like parking meters and miniatures, stuff I never worked with in my life. I don't know why. I didn't like miniatures, and people were like, "Oh man, you should go to like one of those train shows and stuff." Like, I don't want to go. Those guys kind of creep me out. I don't want to play with trains. I don't even like models. Everything's like a means to an end. Like, I learn something in order to do something, and then I kind of forget it. I got a Teflon sort of brain. It's like I learn everything I can about a subject in order to get through that subject, to get everything done so I can get whatever I need out of it, and then it's abandoned in my brain. So that's how the focus works. I hyper focus, and I'm like, well, these are what I need to do this, and that's it. So a means to an end. So that's basically it. Of course, with pandemic and other things and trends and like, and then you're hot for a minute and then poof, nobody's like, okay, well, what have you done lately? It's like, Gee, that's all I had to do was just reinvent the wheel. All I had to do was reinvent myself completely, totally abandon the craft that I studied for so long and be like, oh, okay, just do this now. Do weird, wacky street art because you're a street artist now. I'm like, I didn't, I didn't know that. So what am I going to tell you? What do you make of it? What do you tell me what you think of this story? Because if any of you even listen to this whole thing, but you never know what hits. You never know what you could be doing something, whatever you're doing now, and you might need to do something completely different, and that will just like be all green lights ahead of you. That'll knock it all out of the park. It's like it's good to keep on doing what you're doing if you want to do it, but sometimes you got to shift gears. I shift gears all the time. That's why I'm consistently inconsistent because I'm playing all the card games, I'm playing all the table games. I'm at the big casino of art right now and film and all this stuff and be like, I don't know what's next. I mean, I have other stuff that's next. I'm doing animal rides too now, which is a whole nother story, but I'm not going to get into that's a separate story. That's for another day. So, all right. So I sufficiently blinded myself. So I'm going to call it quits. And I know nobody who watches this stuff. Anyway, bye.